Hello everybody, this is Brian and Benjamin Tercero. We are local brothers and realtors here in the beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. If this is your first time on our channel, we're here to get you educated on what it's like to be a Santa Fe local, and more importantly, to help you become a local by serving you throughout your entire home buying experience. So make sure you tap that subscribe button so that way you're notified every single time we release a new video. And seriously, if you're planning on making a move to Santa Fe, don't go call another realtor to help you make that move. Make sure you give us a call, shoot us a text or an email, or even just leave us a comment down below. However you want to get a hold of us, we're here to serve you in your move to the Santa Fe area.
Now, if you've been watching the Santa Fe real estate market or just trying to figure out the right time to buy or sell, you've probably been asking, is the market crashing? Is it finally stabilizing? Or are we heading into something completely different? Well, you're not alone, and the numbers tell a story that's way more nuanced than headlines or just those hot takes. Just 3 years ago, in May of 2022, we were looking at a blazing hot seller's market with only 1.1 months of inventory. Homes were flying off the shelves, often with multiple offers, waived inspections, and bidding wars. Now, fast forward to May 2025, and inventory has climbed to 4.8 months, a more than four-fold increase. The absorption rate, how quickly homes are being snapped up that is, has fallen off a cliff. And homes that used to sell in just 23 days are now sitting for about 44 days on average. And yet, prices are still climbing. That's right, despite the slowdown in sales and the growing number of homes on the market, the median sold price has continued to rise steadily. So what's really happening here? Well, in this video, we're breaking down all the data, separating hype from reality, and helping you understand what this means. And whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just someone who's bored in their living room and has time to kill learning about Santa Fe's shifting housing landscape, let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with what everyone wants to know. Are prices dropping? The answer is surprisingly no. In fact, prices in Santa Fe have continued to rise, and even as the market has slowed down in nearly every other category. In May 2022, the median sold price was $590,000, but by May 2025, that number has climbed to $653,000. That's more than a 10% increase in just 3 years. That's not explosive growth, but it's consistent and it's meaningful. It tells us that even as inventory increases and sales activity cools, home values are still holding steady. There's still underlying demand, and Santa Fe remains a desirable place to live, invest, and own property. Now let's look at how close homes are selling to their asking price. In 2022, the sold to list price ratio was 101%, meaning that sellers were often getting more than they were asking for. That's what happens in bidding wars and hyper-competitive conditions. In 2025 now, that ratio has dipped, but only slightly. It's now sitting at around 96%. That's still incredibly strong. It means sellers aren't having to slash their prices to get deals done, and buyers aren't getting deep discounts, even with more inventory and longer days on the market. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of the current market. Just because the pace is slower doesn't mean prices are falling. We're not seeing a crash, we're seeing stability. So, if you're a buyer waiting for prices to fall off a cliff, you might be disappointed. And if you're a seller worried that you've missed your window, you haven't. The market has changed, yes, but value is still there. Bottom line, Santa Fe homes are still appreciating, just in a more sustainable, less chaotic way.
Now let's dig into the biggest change in our market, inventory. Back in May 2022, Santa Fe was running on fumes with 1.1 months of inventory, barely enough homes to satisfy demand for a single month. Fast forward 1 year, and you can see the pressure easing. May 2023 ticked up to 2 months of inventory. By May 2024, we hit 2.7 months, and as of May 2025, we're sitting at 4.8 months of inventory. That's a quadrupling in just 3 years. Now here's why that matters. More homes on the shelf is impactful. In raw numbers, active listings jumped from 229 in 2022 to 708 in 2025, a 300% surge. And new listings kept flowing, increasing from 251 to 312, while closed sales slid from 216 to 148. And when supply grows faster than demand, listings accumulate and the market's tempo inevitably slows. This is balance though, not panic. A truly balanced market usually hovers between 4 and 6 months of inventory. At 4.8 months, we're edging into balance. Some would even call it a soft buyer's market. The days of 20 offers in 48 hours are history. Buyers finally have some breathing room. Strategic pricing is everything. For sellers, that newfound balance means you can't rely on scarcity to push your price up. The home has to show well and hit the sweet spot on the price from day one. or buyers are simply going to scroll to their next option because they have options now. Leverage is swinging to the buyers. If you're buying, this is the most negotiating power you've had since before the pandemic. You can ask for repairs, rate buy-down credits, even closing cost help, things that were unthinkable 2 years ago, things that would have tanked a deal. Now remember, inventory is the pulse of any market. A quadruple jump in supply doesn't signal a crash, it signals choice. And choice forces both sides to get smart. Buyers can afford to be picky now. Sellers need to be strategic, and realtors have to bring real expertise to the table.
Okay, let's talk about what buyers are actually doing, because that's where the momentum shift really starts to show up. In May 2022, we were in a market on fire. The absorption rate, which tells us what percentage of homes are being sold relative to how many are listed, it was at an incredible 94.3%. That's nearly every single home that hit the market was going to be snatched up. That kind of velocity, it created pressure, urgency, and crazy competition. Buyers were waiving inspections, submitting offers within hours, and stretching budgets to win. But fast forward to May 2025, and that absorption rate has collapsed to just 20.9%. That's a 73% drop in buyer activity over 3 years. Okay, so what does that actually mean in practical terms? It means that buyers are no longer in a rush. They're not jumping on the first thing they see. They're running the numbers, they're sleeping on it, and they're walking away from listings that don't just feel right. We see the same trend in the pending sales absorption rate, which fell from 80.3% in 2022 to 26.4% today. So not only are fewer homes going under contract, but deals are taking longer to come together, and more buyers are hesitating at the negotiation table. This shift reflects a new buyer psychology. They're no longer fueled by fear of missing out, they're emboldened by the growing inventory. And they're putting pressure on sellers to justify their values. So gone is the market where you could just throw a price on a home and expect it to sell in 3 days. Those days are behind us. Now buyers are calling the shots, and in most instances, they're not afraid to walk away if the numbers don't work. In today's market, patience is power. Buyers who waited out that frenzy, they now have the upper hand. And sellers who are clinging to 2022 pricing expectations, they're gonna learn the hard way that hope isn't a strategy. This isn't about doom and gloom, it's about recognizing that the market is no longer turbocharged. It's slower and it's firmly out of the hands of the impulse buyers. So whether you're listing your home or out shopping, understanding this change in buyer behavior critical, because this isn't just a different market, it's an entirely different mindset.
One of the clearest signs that we've entered into a new phase of the market is how long it takes to get a home under contract. Now let's rewind back to May 2022. The average home in Santa Fe went pending in just 23 days. In real estate terms, that's lightning fast. Now, homes were barely hitting the MLS before offers started rolling in. In many cases, sellers were reviewing multiple offers in a weekend. It was a little bit stressful, but now in May 2025, the average days on market has climbed to 44 days. That's nearly double the time, and it tells us a lot about buyer behavior, pricing expectations, and how competitive sellers just need to be in this market. This increase isn't just a technical shift, it's psychological. Buyers feel way less urgency. They're scheduling second and third showings. They're bringing contractors to pre-inspections. They're negotiating harder because they know the pace has slowed down. For sellers, this creates a very new reality. Homes aren't selling themselves anymore. The list it and leave it strategy of 2022 just doesn't cut it today. You've got to be dialed in on pricing from day one, because the longer your home sits, the harder it becomes to sell at full value. And here's the kicker. While homes are taking longer to go under contract, they're still selling at strong prices if they're priced and presented correctly from the start. The median sold price has continued to rise, and sellers are still getting about 98% of their asking price on average. But those results don't come from wishful thinking, they come from good strategy. What we're seeing now is a market where timing and pricing precision are everything. Overpriced by even 5%, and buyers are gonna pass you by. Then the clock starts ticking, and every additional day on market chips away at your leverage and your bottom line. The market is no longer about being bold, it's about being smart. So if you're thinking about listing, remember, you only get one first impression. Price correctly, prep thoroughly, fix things, and market intentionally. Because in today's slower moving market, those first 10 to 14 days are more valuable than ever.
One of the most telling dynamics in today's market is the widening gap between homes being listed and homes actually being sold. Back in May 2022, we saw 251 new listings hit the market and 216 of them sold that same month. That's a tight margin, almost 1-to-1. Practically every home that came on the market was absorbed into a red-hot buyer pool. Now, if you listed your home, it was likely gone within a few weeks, if not days. But let's fast forward to May 2025, and the story has changed dramatically. This month, 312 new listings came on the market, but only 148 of those homes sold. That's less than half. For every 2 homes listed, only 1 is closing. That's not just a seasonal dip, it's a structural shift. And here's what this means. Supply is exceeding demand. More homeowners are listing, but buyers aren't absorbing inventory at the same pace. Buyers have leverage now. They no longer have to fight tooth and nail for every home. They can explore, compare, and negotiate and walk away if the value isn't there. Sellers must compete. With more listings sitting unsold, it's no longer enough to put your home on the market and hope it speaks for itself. Homes that don't show well, aren't priced correctly, or lack curb appeal, they're getting overlooked quickly. The days of automatic selling are over. We're no longer in a market for simply being for sale guarantees action. The growing gap is why pricing, staging, marketing, and presentation are more critical than ever. Sellers need to stand out, not just in price, but in polish, in how the home feels, in how it's marketed online, and whether it connects with the buyers the moment they scroll past it online. Meanwhile, buyers, they finally have room to breathe. They can wait for the right fit, they can ask for the seller to give them a credit, inspection on repairs, things that were almost laughable during the peak frenzy. So while this gap between listings and sales might be frustrating for some sellers, it represents opportunity on both sides. The question is whether you're prepared to navigate this more competitive, more balanced, and frankly, more human market. Because in 2025, it's no longer about being first on the market, it's about being the best.
Now let's be honest, this market feels very different than it did just a few years ago. In 2022, Santa Fe real estate was in overdrive. Inventory was scarce, demand was sky high, homes sold in days, often with multiple offers, waived contingencies, and buyers throwing everything they had at the wall just to secure a home. Sellers were calling all of the shots, and buyers were just trying to survive the bidding war gauntlet. Now, it's a lot quieter. There are more homes on the market, 708 active listings in May 2025 compared to 229 in May 2022. The average home takes nearly twice as long to sell. Absorption rates have dropped like a stone. Fewer homes are going under contract and even fewer are closing. So yeah, it feels like something dramatic has happened. But here's the key. This isn't a crash, it's a correction, a recalibration, a return to something resembling balance. When you come out of a market as extreme as 2021 to 2022, anything slower feels like a collapse. But let's put it into perspective. Home values have not plummeted, they've risen. Sellers are still getting close to asking price. Inventory, while it's increased, is still not excessive. It's approaching balance, not glut. Buyers finally have choices. Sellers finally have to compete. This isn't a bursting bubble, it's the market catching its breath finally. Think of it like this. For 2 years, we were sprinting, full tilt, redlining every engine, and now we're walking. Not collapsing, not reversing, just moving at a healthier, way more sustainable pace. And honestly, it's good for everyone, especially for us, I think. Buyers get time to think, make sound financial decisions, and stop feeling like they're in a panic room. Sellers who prepare properly can still achieve great outcomes, but now they need to be thoughtful, not lucky. And the market overall, it gets a chance to breathe, to stabilize, to become smarter, steadier, and more predictable. So yes, things are slower, but slower isn't bad, it's balanced. And in real estate, balance is a sign of health, not decline.
So with all this data, rising inventory, longer days on the market, slowing absorption, yet steady prices, what does it actually mean for you? Let's break it down. If you're a buyer, this is the moment you've been waiting for. You finally have time to breathe. You're not racing against 10 other offers. You're not waiving your inspections. You're not being pressured to submit an offer after one 5-minute showing. Now you have leverage. You can compare properties. You can negotiate price, terms, and concessions. You can ask for repairs or even rate buydowns. And you can take the time to make a thoughtful decision instead of an emotional one. But here's the reality check. Don't expect prices to collapse. Values are still holding, and in some segments, they're climbing. So if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for a 20% drop, it's probably not coming, at least not yet. What you can do is negotiate smartly, avoid bidding wars, and buy in a much calmer, more rational environment. And that's a huge win. Now, what about sellers? Well, you can still win in this market, but it's not automatic anymore. Today's buyers are discerning, they're cautious, they have options. That means your home has to earn their offer with great presentation, competitive pricing, and a clear value proposition. The days of testing the market with an inflated price are over. That strategy now leads to longer days on the market, eventual price reductions, and a lower final sales price. If you price it right from day one, you're going to attract the right attention. And if the home is clean, well presented, and marketed effectively, you can still sell quickly and at a strong number. Buyers will pay top dollar, but only if they believe it's worth it. So don't get stuck chasing a price that existed in 2022. Instead, meet the market where it is today and move forward with strategy, not nostalgia. Whether you're buying or selling, the key takeaway is this: we are in a skills-based market now. It rewards preparation, strategy, and local expertise. And if you want help navigating that, that's exactly what we do. Let us be your guide.
So, is the Santa Fe market crashing? Not even close. And what we're seeing isn't a collapse, it's a shift, a long overdue transition from an overheated, high-pressure seller's market to something way more balanced, more thoughtful, and frankly, just more sustainable for everyone. After 3 years of runway demand, limited inventory, and lightning fast sales, we're finally seeing the market take a breath. That's not bad news, that's just maturity, that's stability, and it's a market that rewards strategy, not panic.
So whether you're a buyer looking for the right moment to make a move or a seller wondering how to position your home for success in a slower landscape, this is your time to act smart, not scared. Now, more than ever, having the right guidance matters. Thank you all for watching, and again, if you're planning on making a move to Santa Fe or anywhere in New Mexico for that matter, make sure you give us a call, shoot us a text or an email, or just leave us a comment down below. However you want to get a hold of us, we're here to serve you in your move to the Santa Fe area. Let us be your guide.